This episode is brought to you by Midwest Night Watchers, found everywhere on your favorite podcast platforms.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Piercing the Veil.
Hey, nice everyone in chat.
So we're kind of really liking this 4 p.m. Schedule, so we're going to stay on it for a little while. But as daylight savings time comes, and then it's going to get darker earlier, we'll probably switch back to the 6 p.m. our normal time. But for now, we're just going to keep going at the 4 p.m. as long as our guests are able to make it at 4 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll definitely go back probably to 6 p.m. as it gets darker towards the fall and winter. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Darn animals, daylight savings time and locking up the barns is kind of interfering with the show. So we're trying to switch back and forth, and we're thinking, oh, shoot, it's still going to get dark in the middle of our show. So we're trying to adjust things around.
So we'll probably go back to 6 p.m. once the daylight savings times hit. I think that'll be the right thing to do. And that's usually when we ask our guests to come on at 6 p.m. anyway. But here lately, we've been switching it up to 4 just to see how this time slot goes. And we're getting UK people in and sometimes Australia. And, it just depends on where you live and what time zone you're in. So it's working out pretty good. So let's say hi to everybody in chat there. We got quite a few popping in.
Yeah. Let's see, T-Bone, Gemini, Val, Aunt Edna. Hi, Aunt Edna. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
I'm trying to scroll up. I saw Blazer earlier.
Heidi was in. Gemini
Heidi
Moon
was in. I already said Val, Gemini, Moon at noon.
Clay, Conspiracy Music. Yep.
Clay's in here. Well, thanks for joining us, you guys.
Heidi Pop was in earlier.
And Roger. Hi, Roger. T-Bone. First Floor Audio. Hi, Lee. There we go. All kinds of people popping in.
Yeah. Hi, Lee. Welcome in.
Hi, Daryl. Welcome to chat.
So right. Today we have Brown Dwarf coming on, and if everybody knows, you see him in everybody's chats all the time, popping in, saying hi to everybody, and he lives out in California, but he travels up in the West Coast into the Redwoods, and that's where he grew up, was there, and so he's got a good stories and some good experiences to tell us about his trip up there. But before we bring Brown Dwarf up, I would like to say our prayers go out to the people down south and all those states that got affected by Helena.
Yes.
Is that how you say Helena? I don't know. Helena?
Helene. I think it's Helene.
A lot of people are still without power. I mean, millions of people have suffered without power, and it sounds like it's going to be, not just days, but maybe weeks until they get that all straightened out, because they're still having massive flooding and people are getting, moved out of their areas and rescued. And so our hearts and prayers go out to them that are in that predicament, because even up here where we live and other places in the U.S., we've all experienced power outages and storms, and but this has been really centralized on those, like 7 or 8 states,
or maybe I thought I heard 11.
11. Wow.
That got affected really bad.
Yeah. So anyway, everybody keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and we'll just have to see how that goes, and hopefully we can get some government assistance there. And not only that, but state and local people are probably going to be doing food drops and, you know, anything that they need. So hopefully they get that soon and they start to build back their communities and get on with life again instead of being in this horrible predicament that they're in. So having said that,
let's talk Sasquatch.
Talk about Sasquatch and the woo and stuff. And so we'll just go ahead and bring Brown Dwarf up, our good friend, and get this conversation going.
All right.
Hello, Brown Dwarf. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, Gerald and Jane, and welcome to everyone in chat. Yeah, excited to be here. And yeah, prayers out to the Floridians out there. Yeah, it's rough. You know, it's out here in the West Coast. We've been going through the fires and a few little earthquakes here and there. And actually yesterday, I think there was 3 small ones that I heard that were reported here in SoCal area. And it's just kind of alarming because we had a few other earthquakes the past few months. So it's like things are shaking up. And you're talking earlier backstage, Gerald, about some sort of sulfur smells too out here in the West Coast, possibly Pacific Northwest. And that's we're talking, you know, different things, volcanoes and stuff. So yeah, definitely things kind of edgy out here in the West.
I think they're edgy everywhere. I mean, whether it's tornado season for us here in the Midwest, or, you know, the hurricanes and stuff happening on both coasts, you know, because, you know, California gets them too, not necessarily on the west side, but it comes up through the Gulf sometimes and kind of affects you guys too. Then it sucks the wildfires, you know, the drafts from all the air currents, and it's just like a never ending cycle going across the U.S.
Well, I'm hearing about cracks in the ground. Is that any of these cracks in California?
No, but actually, not that I've noticed like major cracks, and I'm sure there is. You know, I just they haven't been brought to my attention. But I've been staying under my sister's place here in Los Angeles, and her house is we're kind of up on a hill, and under her house is like I guess you could say like a bachelor's. It's the boys' gaming room there. There's everything but a kitchen down there, shower, everything, restroom. And we had recently gotten some brick done outside of it there, and I noticed there were some cracks on some of those bricks after one of these earthquakes that we recently had. So I was like,
You know what else is weird? That the hurricane, you know, that devastated Florida, then traveled up into the states, the southern states, you know, Georgia, Tennessee, and all them got affected really bad by it. But it stalled out right over the fault line, right there in Missouri, you know, below St. Louis in that area. And that's where the eclipse and all that made that X the 2 times. So it's all focusing right there on that fault line.
Wow, that's strange. Yeah,
I don't know if it means anything or not, but it's kind of weird.
Oh yeah. And speaking of the hurricanes and earthquakes, I don't know if you remember, I want to say it was last year. My years tend to kind of blend in. We had just done a Bluff Creek expedition, and some of the guys that were there were also going to do an expedition in Southern California, just right outside of LA County here in Ventura County, out in the Sespe Wilderness, out in Los Padres National Forest. A friend of ours had a possible sighting caught on thermal, and so he wanted to go back there. And we had gone there before, and he wanted to go back and do like a follow up and stuff. So after that, it was a week later. So I had finished the Bluff Creek trip, and they were making their way down to Southern California. So about a week later after that trip, we went ahead and hit that spot there, and that at that time they were saying that California was supposedly getting hit with some sort of hurricane of some sort, And then we had warned the guys, but they were just like, all right, let's go anyway. And so we went out, did several nights there. And on the night that the hurricane hit, and we had to watch out because we were at below this mountain, and there was I guess you could say a pretty big creek or river that flowed through the passage to get up to the mountain. And we had to watch out for like flash floods in those areas as well. We got hit with an earthquake that night that the hurricane hit. It was actually during the day. I think it was midday or so. There was a pretty big earthquake out of Ojai that hit at the same time, and we were pretty much hunkered down at that time. And I thought it was pretty strange that happened there.
Wow. You know, there's like 9 to 10 hurricanes active right now out in the oceans, and
Whoa.
whether it's on the coast of Africa to the US I mean, it's just like a line all the way across. There's like 9 or 10 of them right now, and but they don't know which way they're going, or if they're going to fade out or get stronger. We'll have to wait and see.
Man.
Wow. Yeah, and how often California gets first hurricanes?
Yeah, no, stay safe and stay prepared. You know, this is another reminder for me to be prepared. You know, we always talk about the big one out here and stuff like that, and we do get reminded, you know, to have some supplies ready and stuff. And I always have like my stuff to go out Bigfooting, so I got those little bit of supplies there, but it's definitely not enough if you're in a major city, and so it's scary. At the shop here, we do have several gallons of water backed up, so that's always good to have. And definitely batteries and our flashlights and stuff handy. And yeah, you never know.
Well, you know, we got the port strikes coming up, and it sounds like they're actually going to strike. So everybody make sure that you stock up on your supplies now before the shelves empty, because you never know what the hot item is going to be. I mean, last time it was toilet paper. Who would have known?
Right.
I don't know why, but
yeah, I remember that.
So make sure you have your essentials. You know, it's like Brown Dwarf was talking. Make sure you have canned food, water, batteries. You know, make sure you have a way to charge your cell phone so you can get in contact with people, whether you order the little battery packs that you plug in to charge them. We have 4 or 5 of them now, I think, because we were out almost a week without power at our house for a while.
Yeah, no, and I've been stocking up on little gadgets and stuff for what we do, and one of the main things is like these rechargeable stuff to, you know, whether it be solar powered or whatever you got to plug in. But yeah, definitely those little things do come in handy for sure. And I'm trying to stock up on as many of those as possible. And remember, have gas for that generator too.
That's right. Yeah, I know a lot of people in Florida and other areas affected. That was their biggest thing. I mean, they had some gas, but they weren't prepared, you know, to go a long time, obviously. So they were out searching for gas for their generators.
Yeah, that's why I actually miss it. You know, I've mentioned being living out here in Los Angeles for going on a few years now, but I'm normally based up north, up in the woods, and there normally it's like you live prepared. You know, you got those supplies because it's how you live. You know, it's how we live up there, and I really miss that.
Yep. Well, let's go and get into the woods. Let's start talking about your last camping trip or whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Well, it was just recent. It feels like what was it? It's a couple months already, maybe a more than a month ago. We recently did a trip up to the Bluff Creek area of Northern California, and that's always exciting for me. For those that don't know, Bluff Creek is where the Patterson Gimlin footage was shot in '67, I believe. And for California, it's just a major hotspot for Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And that area just kind of fell in my lap. You know, living out here in Southern California years back, going through some life changes, actually landed me up north. And I had really... I had somewhat of an idea that, you know, things like that were going on up north. I just knew strange things were going on, but I didn't have the the grasp of the magnitude of what, you know, Bigfoot was up that way. And when I moved up that way, you know, moved into the hills of Humboldt County, southern Humboldt, this particular area called Honeydew, very beautiful, and just got to know how to live out there and land and in the country, and it was just a complete change from being in the city, and I fell in love. And being up that way, you know, you start hearing stories, and just you see it all over the place. And so I started asking. I moved in with this a friend of, as actually a boyfriend of a female friend of mine, and he needed someone staying at his place. And I guess I was the guy for the job there. And yeah, so he really schooled me on a lot of stuff, and he was very much into his Irish roots as well. And so he's very much into the fairies and all this stuff. But I remember talking to him about Bigfoot, and he wasn't into it. He almost had this like this weird reaction when I asked him about it, and almost like just kind of shot me down and made me think like, dude, did like something happen here with Bigfoot that you don't want to talk about or something like? And so living there, I ended up meeting someone who had mentioned to me that the Patterson film was shot further up in the county, and I was like, oh wow, I had no idea that. I was like, what? And so for me, that got me super excited, and started getting more into this stuff. And nothing really happened to me. Actually, one major thing happened to me that was kind of weird on that land, and it was this case of sleep paralysis. I was staying in this wickiup outside of the main house, which is further down the hill, and I've had sleep paralysis before, and this time it hit me, and I was very aware, and I was by myself. It was dark in the woods. I'm in this like wickiup that's falling, like pretty much falling apart. It's been there a long time, but you know, it was home for now. And I wake up. It's nighttime, and it's, you know, I'm stuck, and I could tell. I'm like, oh man, sleep paralysis. So I'm very conscious of what's going on, and I was able to look towards the door of the wickiup, and I noticed that the door was open, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, like darn, the door's open, and that's not good because, you know, whatever wildlife could come in. And um and I noticed at the door that there was these like three shadow-like figures, like
Oh.
humanoid shadow-like figures. They looked big, and I was just like, whoa, that's weird. And I just don't remember much of that. I know I was able to snap out of the paralysis somehow. I was able to snap myself out of it. And the weird thing also was that I wasn't really scared, you know, because I was very conscious that I was having that episode, and I've had them before, and they were weird, but this time I was able to not freak out, because I think anyone else or most people would have been trying to run out of those hills, and good luck, because there's nowhere to run when you're up there. Oh
Especially
man,
something that
so
could
yeah,
probably
but
run
very.
faster than you, can go through the forest better than you can.
Oh man, so that was pretty heavy, but it was cool because you know, it wasn't this scary thing that happened. It was just like, whoa, that was trippy. So that was one of the main things that happened on that land. And to give you a little more description of the land here, from the property, if you look across, you had this view of the Kings Mountain Range, and down below is the Mattole Valley, and super beautiful, and yeah, just magical land there. So, but anyway, a few years later, I ended up moving. We ended up my partner and I ended up moving in with my partner, and this was a few hills over, a little bit down south from Honeydew, closer to a town of Alder Point, which is known. There's a Netflix documentary that I've talked about before. That's based around that mountain. It's more on some negative, dark things that
Murder
have happened
Mountain.
there. Um, so I moved into that area, and at this time I was very much into the Bigfoot stuff, learning more. My brother would send me stuff from down here that he would find on the internet, and so I was very much jumping online, learning about things, seeing what people were doing online, and I was like, you know what, I should check around the prop, because this property. Actually, the last property was about 40 acres. So there was a lot to explore around there, and this new place that I had moved into was also very big, about the same amount of acreage. And I was like, checking out the some of the guys on YouTube doing some of their investigations and stuff like that. And some of it was very grassroots, and guys with their cell phones or whatever gear they had, and they were just out doing this stuff. And I was like, you know what, I should check around here on the land to see if I run into any of this stuff that people are finding.
Right.
And sure enough, I started finding, so it got into some of the stick structure stuff, and there were some things that I found around the land that was very questionable, and began documenting too. I think at the time I was using my cell phone as well, but eventually got a pretty decent camera. I bumped up to like a Canon at the time, but it was literally like holding a Canon, so I really didn't know how to operate the thing, and just made the most of it while I had it. But was able to obtain a couple decent cameras at the time, and like I said, no knowledge of how to really use them, and just began the documenting, and really liked the documenting because you were out there in the element. It was
Right.
just like it, it was something active to do, and at the same time you could be doing other things while you're doing this. So sometimes we'd go take breaks, and we'd head down the hill, go to the river, and people would go to refresh themselves at the river. And for me, it was time to go explore a new place or something like that. And so I would take advantage of situations like that, and got to explore a lot of places throughout the county, and even other private properties that friends owned or family lived in, and stuff like that. And so everyone kind of started noticing that I was into this stuff, and I would get more stories of encounters in areas, and stuff like that, or personal encounters that people have had started coming my way, and I started digging for that type of stuff more and more too. And people, there were certain, I forget who it was exactly, but there were several people who were like, "Hey, dude, have you met Bobo yet?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Well, you need to get a hold of them." And at the time, I remember seeing some episodes of like finding Bigfoot and stuff, but I had no idea that Bobo was living in Humboldt, or was in the I had no idea. But they're like, "Yeah, this dude's out here, man. You gotta go check him out, run into him." And I forget how it was that we eventually met, and there was all these connections, like the land we were on used to be owned by someone Bobo used to live with, and then because it's like small communities, although the county's big, there's these small communities, and everyone gets to
Right.
like know each other and stuff. And yeah, so got to know Bobo, and eventually he invited me on a few outings, so got to go out with him a few times. And there was some other people that I got to meet through him, and that I met on my own as well. And those were the guys from the Bluff Creek project, and these guys were doing things up in Bluff Creek. And eventually got to meet with them and see how they were doing things, and it was completely different. These guys are very grounded on what they do, and they've been doing a lot of research on the whole Bluff Creek situation, the Patterson situation. Um, and so, yeah, so really getting into the bug has bit me by this time, and I'm really getting into all this stuff. And so I'm really keeping an ear out and an eye out on the land, because I'm starting to notice certain things, and documenting these things. And eventually, I started noticing that these orbs of light started popping up on the land, and it was kind of weird, because I was getting into, like I said, I'm all into this stuff, and really getting into some of the weirder aspects of Bigfoot. And one of the things that had popped up were the orbs of light, and this is maybe about 6, 7 years ago now, I would think, maybe 8. Um, and these things started popping up on the land. And at this time I was already hearing stuff on the land, like I said, finding things that I thought were significant, and now these things started popping up, and it was just like,
Wow.
whoa, no way. And at first when I started noticing them, I could have swore it's maybe like a neighbor across the way, because there were neighbors, but everyone was spread out. and there shouldn't be anyone walking on your property or anything like that. But and this particular part of the property where I was seeing these orbs, it was kind of an area that people really don't go to. And I had full view because we had a nice deck that just you had view of the hills and the sky. It was just amazing for watching anything. Um, and so I thought it was a neighbor maybe with a headlight, because that's what it looked
Right.
like, like a blue headlight. Um, and sometimes these lights would kind of bounce around. So I was thinking maybe it was like someone maybe walking or something like that, because it had this weird, almost like I like to describe it as like a wiffle ball under air or something, that was just like kind
Mm-hmm.
of floating, had this weird
Right.
little dancing type
Hmm.
effect to it. And also I began to notice that these things would like either brighten up really bright, or it could like dim down really low, get really dim, and kind of like this soft and not as bright color, and they would disappear and then reappear. And there were several times where I noticed these things it drop out from the sky into the woods, and vice versa. These things, and I've seen these things actually float in the woods in between trees and stuff like that. And I was
Wow.
just like, whoa. And so I got plenty of footage of this stuff because this stuff was happening on basically the nightly basis. It was like every night it was a
Wow.
show of this stuff, and I'm
Wow.
sure people. And that's I began to post this stuff, and some of my first videos were just really terrible. Just learning how to like post a video, and just I was just like showing interesting like things throughout the county. Like it was like stickers and like gift shop stuff before I started really like going into the woods and stuff. But this stuff started happening nightly, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is like some action here!" And right at home, it's just like take a
Right.
seat outside on the deck, and there goes the show. And so I began recording a lot of this stuff, and there were several points too where I felt like I was almost like people would call it mind speak, I guess. I was trying to like communicate with this thing and trying to see what was up, and there were several points where it got a little scary, and I would take a break from that and head
Hmm.
inside, and just didn't want to become a 411 victim or anything like that. So I started learning about
Exactly.
the missing people and things like that, so there was a lot of fear involved, and a lot of times I would be alone on the land. Sometimes the family, my partner would be there, and whatever, our son, and there would be people there, which is cool. But a lot of times there would be no one, and it would just be me, and all this stuff is going on, and it was
How,
just
Hmm.
how many
interesting.
different colors have you seen in orbs? You said there was
Oh yeah.
blue, and I'm assuming like we see white a lot. So was there a
I
bunch of
see
different
orange.
colors you were able to see?
Yeah, so I describe it as blue, but it could go to white. Like I said, it almost looks like a star. Um, and sometimes I would see these things change multiple colors. I've also described it as like the Mario Brothers flower power, when you get the flower and you
Yeah.
start changing all those, the little
Yep.
Mario Brothers song comes on. It looked like that. It was just like changing a bunch of different colors, and like stars kind of do that too when I look at
Yep.
them.
Yeah. They
and
twinkle.
and so yeah, it was really trippy. There were certain nights where I would see them on different colors. um and yeah, this just kept going, and I'm pretty sure, and we ended up moving out of there, which was a bummer. So there was a lot of things that happened there. This is maybe, I want to say, 6 to 7 years that I was living there, and all this stuff was going on. And at the same time, I began hitting other places throughout the county. There was a lot of state parks in the county that I was able to hit, and finding a lot of these stick structures. So I really started getting into these structures and getting to know people on YouTube that were doing the same thing and finding very similar stuff. And that's why I found it very fascinating, because the way we were finding these things, the way I was finding these things, was almost like um, it was weird. Like it's like, what's going on here? It's like, is someone reading your mind and like making these things and putting them in places where they know you're gonna go,
Mhm.
and leaving like these markers there, or is it all just human bushcraft, and you're just happen to be running into these things, you know.
Right.
It
And
could be your vibration and frequency. Maybe you attract them, or they know that you're a light or a like a beacon, and they come to you. Kind of like
and
what happens on
Mhm.
our property when the skyfish and the rods and orbs start showing up. Jane's out there playing her music and meditating, and all of a sudden you start seeing this activity come in.
yep, and I think you're on it there, Gerald. So and for some people it may be hard to grasp, or maybe they may not want to believe these things. And by the way, did I show?
Oh, look at that. All right.
I'm
Yeah.
rolling in style today.
Does it fit good?
um, yeah, like they won't want to maybe give in to what may be happening here. And I think there is, a lot of this stuff that's happening, whatever, cryptids, or I think everything that's happening, it's you're interfacing with consciousness and
Mhm.
this realm, this reality. And so a lot of the times when I was finding these things, there was an intention there, and also almost like a calling, because I would in my mind, I would ask for, like, guidance to where to look, because I mean it's hard. It's hard. It's like, where do you start? Where would you go take a look? And so for me, one of the things also was to check on these places that were getting reports, or places that people may have referred me to. And sure enough, some of these places is where I was finding these things and having different experiences. Sometimes around these structures, you have these experiences. There's one time, there's a particular area, because I began to find like little, what I called spots, hot spots, where these things would like reoccur. And I'm talking the structures and stuff like that. And then little things would happen, like there was one particular time I went to go check in this area, and it's super beautiful area. We're talking, you're in the redwoods, and this huge branch just happened to break right when I was getting there. And it was one of those times that I didn't have my camera rolling, and it was like, as soon as I was going to get the camera rolling, this huge branch breaks, and there was a new structure in the area, and I was like, darn, I missed it. But it got me, like, it got my heart pumping and blood run. It was like, you could tell, I felt there was someone here, and they
Right.
just broke a huge branch,
Mhm.
and it was just like, wow, and so just, in my mind, I'm just like, thank you, because I'm looking for any, give me anything, whether it be a stick structure, or a footprint, if possibly, or even some impressions. It's just like
Right.
something. And when you ask, I feel like, a lot of times I've been answered. There's little things that have happened here and there that are just like, whoa. And so it makes you wonder, what, first of all, what are you communicating with,
Mhm.
and what's really going on here, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. It makes me wonder, just like deer hunters or anybody out in the forest, how many of Bigfoots or dogmen or whatever you encounter, how many, makes you wonder how many there are. Because I mean, it as big as a space as like California redwoods or up the coast, in the big redwood forests, that's a lot of space to actually run into an encounter. I mean, is either there's a lot of them, or you're just the luckiest person in the world to run into them. You know what I mean?
Yep, and the weird thing is, like, you're hearing all these encounters nowadays. It's like everyone, has got a story, right? And so, yeah, well, what's happening here? It's like, is it is it, is it just a bunch of stories, or is like, are people really having these experiences? And I do believe it's happening on a wide scale, and yeah, maybe there isn't as many as some would think. I do think there's a lot of them, and we're talking Sasquatches here, because I do believe they have been in the Southern California area, and in areas that people wouldn't imagine.
Right.
There's been some reports that I feel that are legit, and when I've been into some of these areas, I don't know. Once again, there's a particular feeling, I'm big on that, and yeah, you can't prove it maybe physically, but I feel like your feelings are should be valid. There's a lot of things that I do by instinct and stuff like that. And I do believe there's something there. That sense is there for a reason, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, when you get into these particular places, you'll feel a particular vibe, and I could just sense like, oh yeah, I could sense something here, something's been here. And a lot of times you'll find something that might be like, oh yeah, there's something's
Right.
here.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised where you can have encounters or find evidence, of stuff. Because I mean, look at the state of Illinois. You think, okay, Chicago, that one of the biggest cities, in the nation. Well, now there's Mothman sightings in there. There's Bigfoot sightings. There was a dinosaur sighting. Somebody said outside. Okay. I would think once you get out of Chicago, it's all farmland, open fields. We got
Mhm.
forests and big trees and national, parks and stuff. You go to Southern Illinois, you got caves and rivers and mountains and stuff. But Chicago, I mean, why would you pick Chicago? I mean, I can understand maybe Mothman, the harbinger of doom, picking
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like when you look at Bigfoot and Dogman and all the other ones, why would you be hanging out around the suburbs of Chicago? Why wouldn't you come down south where you got a lot of places to roam and be
Right.
in?
Right. Yeah, so it goes back. Well, could it be for these things to warn people about certain things, maybe to awaken certain people about certain things, or you could go the route that we're encroaching on more land, you know,
Right.
and you are hearing more reports of like bears and cats and even cats from like South America or Mexico being up here and so yeah, I've mentioned the other day with Jessica that cryptid huntress that yeah, I don't see that these things have any borderlines, and I was talking about counties and specific areas, but yeah, I think these things just kind of roam wherever, wherever. And yeah, they have their spots they like to, their base
Right.
or maybe get based out of yeah, no, I think
I
it's
mean,
an
you talk
open
about
game
them
right now.
being mysterious and hiding, and you always see like the hide and seek champion of the world or whatever. But now it's like they're coming out in like places you would never expect them to be, in sightings, in the cities, the suburbs, and
Hmm.
it's like weird. Are they trying to be in contact? Are they, they don't care no more, or
Or
it's
there's more
weird?
showing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe there's more, and they don't know where to go.
Yeah, and for me, it makes me wonder, like, all right, so what would my perspective? Because when I think Bigfoot, there's like the native tribes talk about Bigfoot honesty. There's all these positive attributes to Bigfoot, like
Mhm.
Bigfoot nature. Um, just that's how I kind of like to look at Bigfoot, is that it's something that has helped me learn more about the areas I live in. It's made me more conscious about nature, about myself even, and so I find that fascinating, because at the same time you have the complete opposite end of that with Bigfoot also, and along with these other cryptids that seem to be more of a darker nature. It's like that possibly these things could be demonic, or just man-eating beasts, cannibals, all these scary things, and yeah, it makes me wonder, what are we tapping into here? And so I'm very careful also how I approach, when I'm looking into this stuff. But yeah, no, I feel that there's something there with Bigfoot that is positive and that we could learn from, and that's what keeps me going. Because honestly, I'm not going out there to try to have a negative encounter with anything. I'm not trying to get
Right.
hurt,
Mhm.
and it's very serious what we're doing here. So safety first. And yeah, you have these things that could happen at any time out in the wilderness, or even in rural areas. that could really get you in a bad position. So you got to be aware of that. And yeah, just dealing whether if it's like we said, more of a spiritual thing, you know, these spiritual entities and stuff like that. Being aware of how to protect yourself from that. And yeah, dude, I actually smudged myself earlier today. I smudged my phone, even I smudged my devices even.
There you go.
And just being aware of that, you know, when we go to bed at night or going to go on into an investigation. And so yeah, I keep all those things in mind. There's, you know, certain people that don't look at Bigfoot like that, and some people on an investigation will go out there and try to, you know, poke the Sasquatch and stuff, and you know, whatever. I'd let people do whatever it is they like to do. I just keep my intentions out there, you know, and I just do things my way. Uh, yeah, no, I just
Well, I mean,
feel
they
like,
sense you. They sense when you're coming. I mean, they know way before you do that you're going to have an encounter or you're entering their area. I mean, so if you're in a bad mood, you know, and you're going out to enjoy nature to try to get out of that bad mood, well, guess what? They sense that bad mood and they know that your negative experiences or whatever you're projecting out is coming way before you're actually getting close to them. So they know, so they might either be confrontational or they might just back away from you because they don't want to deal with it either. I mean, just like Barney and Betty, you know, when they had their UFO experience, Betty wanted to explore the stars and ride on a spaceship and have a great experience. And Barney was afraid he was going to be experimented on and, you know, be abducted and have this horrible experience. Well, guess which ones they had? Betty had the good one and Barney had the horrible one.
yeah, trip out. Yeah. No, the perspective is big. I think no matter what you're doing in life, you know, how you look at things will, uh, I think, affect the results too. You know, and yeah, no, I find it fascinating. And did you hear that Betty's? I heard Betty's daughter, granddaughter, is a UFC fighter.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Check
No.
that out. Someone fact checked me, but I heard that recently. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Huh.
Wow.
I did not know that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So going back up to Bluff Creek, so there's been several times that I've been able to go up there, and at the time I was living pretty close to the area, and even living in the county there. Is still a mission, man. That, you know, even from Willow Creek, which is like one of the closest. I mean, there's smaller towns, really close to the Bluff Creek area, but Willow Creek is your bigger, smaller town, if that makes
Right.
sense. And even from Willow Creek, it's still a mission, man. It's always a mission to get up in there, and even when you're close by. So coming from Southern California, you're gonna be looking at a good 12 hours, and yeah, so it's always a journey. And so yeah, we were up there recently, and it was a nice group of us. It was actually quite a few people that are known in the Bigfoot world, and it's kind of like this yearly thing we've been doing. You know, there's a Bigfoot Days, which is a festival in Willow Creek that happens during the summer.
Hmm.
And so they've kind of lined it up with Bigfoot Days. And we do this gathering up at Bluff Creek, and the guys, you know, go up, service the game cams, and do a little cleanup, and maybe, you know, do whatever it is that they do, mark flags, whatever work they need done. But we have people come in from different parts of the country, different states, and it's a really good time. And so we do investigations while we were there. And this time we spent 9 days, which is the longest amount of time I've spent in Bluff Creek, and
Wow.
which is great. Yeah, that's what you want to do, is, you know, be able to spend as much time as possible, right? And we luckily did the 9 days, and yeah, we had a few plans. One of the plans was to check out an area, this particular road that was never finished, and I had never been in that area before, and so we were planning to do an overnight hike into this particular part of the wilderness and to find the end of this road. And so that was one of the plans for the night, and we did do that. And so I think there should be a couple people are going to be coming out, I believe, with the documentary of that, and we'll get into that a little more. But yeah, so basically, the first night we got there, there's Damon, who's a good friend, and who's got to meet the last time I was up there at Bluff Creek, and he actually is like a gadget dude. Like I believe his Jeep is all like geared up, has FLIR on the Jeep, and
Oh, wow.
he has FLIR on his drone, and just the guy for the tech, and yeah, became a friends of him, and he showed up this time, and on the first night we are there. So I got there maybe, I think it was midday or so. Um, the following morning, I had set out my audio recorder, and Damon, I guess, had his stuff set up, and he was like, "Hey, check this out." So he shared some of the audio from the night that I got there, and this is in our campground, and it was like some loud and clear wood, what sounded like wood knocks, and then this weird like type sound.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
just like, yeah, the strangest. I was like, no
Wow.
way. He's like, yeah, dude, that was last night. He was like, that's right here, and he shared some other audio that he captured from that night, and I believe the night before, and it just led me to believe that, yeah, they're here. He's like, oh yeah, they're here, dude. And I was just like, all right, well, let's get ready. And my mistake was that night I had this new audio recorder, and had it going, really little cheap one. And in the morning, since usually I'm a light sleeper, so things, I'll hear things, and I just felt like in the morning I didn't really hear anything, and so went ahead and deleted it the last night. So I probably would have had that on the audio, but
Oh man.
who knows? But yeah, so there's more audio to go through. There was a lot of sounds going on throughout the night, and a lot of the little wood pops here and there. And on one particular night, we did several night investigations, and fully, geared up with the thermals, and had the night vision going, and audio recorders, and just trying different little things, and a lot of it was walking in dark as well. We do a lot of that, just being really quiet, no lights, and then if things don't happen, then we'll try other things. There's Jonathan Easley from Western Bigfoot Explorations, who actually does not, but he uses I believe, I don't know if it's I don't think it's like an actual cowbell. It's like a plastic, it's an instrument. But it makes these perfect, like wood knocking sounds, and they're super loud.
Oh,
Hmm.
And so yeah, instead of beating on a tree, he hits that, and I think that's a good thing, because as of late, William Nighthawk, your brother Nighthawk, uh, was talking over on his channel about people beating on trees, and that these elementals being in the
wake up.
trees, which is another conversation to get into another rabbit hole here, because there has been, on the spiritual aspect of Bigfoot, there has been talks about them being able to go inside of trees and stuff like that,
Right.
and yeah, so you hear also that these elementals. So I'm like, dude, there's something there with that, and I try to, you know, I take note of things like that, and try to respect that, and I think there's something there for sure. So I won't be doing any tree knocks anytime
We
soon.
have we have elementals for everything. There's fire elementals, there's water elementals, sprites, there's tree elementals, and there's different kinds of tree elementals. I didn't know that till this recently. So
Yeah.
supposedly when they knock on the tree, they're awakening the elementals and making contact with them and using the trees as portals. I mean, they have to have permission from the elementals to come in to the trees to use them. And supposedly you can only use them the same tree so many times. Like that
Huh.
takes a lot of energy out of that tree, and they end up dying if you do it over and over and using the same one all the time. So it kind of makes you wonder when you see dead trees out in the forest, like, okay, why is this one dead, but none of the other ones around it are?
All right.
Hmm.
Yeah, trippy.
Mhm. Wow.
That's new to me. And I'll be keeping that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So I think there is something there, and there's actually some, is some of these YouTube videos, you never know, but there's some really good ones, and if they're fake, they're awesome. But if they're real, they're super awesome. There's a couple of them that I've seen where it looks like the Bigfoot type creature, Sasquatch, literally like disappears behind the tree or goes in the tree or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like whoa. And you hear that from the Native Americans as well. There's talks of stuff like that. It's not the first time that I've heard of stories of trees, uh, of Sasquatch going into trees. And not only that, I've heard that you hear about the stump squatches, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stumps being mistaken for Bigfoots.
Right.
There's a gentleman out of Humboldt County who actually disappeared off of YouTube. He started a YouTube channel, I think it was last year, and he was putting reports out of Humboldt, which was really cool. I was really digging what he was doing, but he found someone in the community that just completely turned him off, and it shut him down, which is unfortunate, but and that happens. uh there was one report where he got out of one of the rivers up in Humboldt, and it was a Bigfoot looking like a log floating on the river, going down the river,
Ah.
but it was
Wow.
a Sasquatch.
Hmm.
And yeah, you get all these weird tree stories. There's reports of them being up on top of these redwoods, and I could see that happening. These trees are big enough to hold a creature like that, and even in the Bluff Creek area where you don't have as many redwoods. um, I was told by an ex-sheriff who had actually showed me the first time I had gone to Bluff Creek. He showed me how to get to the site. He guided me down. He's an ex Los Angeles sheriff, and he's passed on now, Brother Mike. Um, the first time we were heading down, he's like, dude, make sure you look up into the trees as well, because they could be up in the trees. So it
Right.
was like, oh, whoa, all right. I didn't think of that one, And so, yeah, it's definitely something I do now all the time is to look up, point the camera up to, because you never know what might be hanging on there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about the Bigfoot being a log or a timber going down in the river or stream. We heard stories of other people talking about this ordinary looking sticks will all of a sudden get up and run like it had legs, going through the forest. Like, oh, okay, what was that? Was that an elemental? Was that something else taking its shape and getting out of there before you can see it? Or
It was Groot.
Yeah. And
it was
that
Groot.
also, yeah. What was that, right? And what comes to mind is what the natives. I don't know if they're out of Washington. I forget what tribe it is, but they have the Stick Indians, and
Stick
I heard
Indian.
that, yeah, that the Stick Indians were the Sasquatches.
Huh.
But I've also recently heard also it was a native young lady who was talking on the Stick Indians, but she was saying that no, these Stick Indians are like these stick type creatures or beings of some
Hmm.
sort. And so I was like, interesting there.
Wow.
And yeah, really weird. And so I was mentioning a lot of the guys up in the, that we get together with are very grounded. So a lot of the, what, I don't even like to call it woo or the spiritual aspects of Bigfoot. They know about these things and very aware, but they don't go hardcore on it, which I feel is cool also because I don't know. I feel like some people may overreact and may embellish things, possibly. So it really gives you a nice ground to feel things out and experience things. Yeah. So, but like I say, I'm more of the one that's like I feel like is out there more of the spiritual, but I could be wrong. I know some of them have experienced more of the weird stuff as well. That I would be like, oh yeah, that's the weird aspects of Bigfoot. But since them for them, there's no proof, then you can't really
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and there's
Have
a lot
you
of that. I think in this.
have you experienced anything other cryptids besides Dogman or like Dogman? Because
Yeah, not that I could remember, and I say that because there's a lot of experiences that I'm hearing now, you know, where they're online, that I'm like, hold, you know, I don't think that's ever happened. But when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I have experienced something like that, or that actual thing that they're talking about. So sometimes I gotta download those files.
Mm-hmm.
right,
But yeah, no, there's nothing, you know, Dogman. Like I said, I wouldn't even want to run into anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. But you know, I have seen some weird stuff in the skies. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go. I just actually right before the show had another sighting outside the shop here, and I mentioned that
Ah,
some of that stuff started calming down. And
yeah.
yesterday I tried a little experiment where I was like, let me try a little CE5 type calling, and I recorded me saying that, and I cut the phone and waited, and actually had something pop up later in the day,
Hmm.
and it's the latest video posted. And my buddy actually sent me a sighting that he captured also a little bit after the time that I did the calling. He had no idea. I had no idea. He didn't know I was doing what I did, and he was in another part of town. So he was in Sherman Oaks, California, and captured this object that was very much similar to the object that I captured a little while later in the day, and that's the same object that I think popped out earlier today too. So I'll be posting that video a little later. But yeah, no, definitely weird stuff in the skies, and a lot of people are. I'm getting weird reports, and I've heard and read weird reports of Sasquatch beings being somehow tied with these weird lights, these orbs, UFOs, and stuff like that. And there's several groups out there, and actually here in the Pacific Northwest as well, that have done some really good the research on this type of stuff, or more of the paranormal Bigfoot type stuff. And so yeah, when I'm up in Bluff Creek, I definitely keep a ear and eye out for any strange happenings like that. And like I said, this time around, the night investigations were really, I feel like they were long and pretty intense. And we did experience some strange, like I said, wood knocking sounds, popping sounds, and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that some of the guys got this stuff captured on audio, because they had better audio recorders than I had running. And once again, that before these investigations, you know, I'm putting my intentions out there, and like I said earlier, kind of tapping in to certain things, and requesting for responses or for anything like that. And it's pretty magical when you do get, you know, responses. So I feel like it was pretty active, this expedition there. There was also another occurrence after we had these vocalizations on this particular night. And let me mention that this particular night is Jonathan Easley from Western Bigfoot Explorations, and we had Alex Petikoff from Small Town Monsters come through. And like I mentioned, Bobo came by. There was the guys from Bluff Creek. It was quite a group. Damon, the Gadget Dude, and uh, yeah, so it was, we broke up into these different groups, and it was Alex, Jonathan, and I. And there was another group doing some calls, and trying some different things. And yeah, we started getting these responses and feedback. And we ended up regrouping in that particular night that all this stuff was happening. And the rest of the group ended up heading off back to camp, and Alex, Jonathan, and I headed towards the sound of where we thought these vocalizations were coming from. And what was interesting, this is a particular meadow called layered meadow that has history. If you go back into the whole Patterson thing, there was tracks and stuff found in that particular meadow. And I forget the story behind there. There's a whole thing with these tracks, and who found them. I don't want to say the name to so I don't
Right.
get the names messed up. But so it has history there, and there's also history from previous Bigfooters that have been in that area. So we like this particular area, and Jonathan and I think it was about 3 years back, we're also doing an investigation there with another pretty big group, and we were kind of broken up the same way into teams using walkie talkies to communicate because we're all spread out in different parts of the hill. And that particular night we tried some knocks and got some weird vocalizations that Jonathan and I heard. And at that time, I don't think I had an audio recorder. Jonathan had his going, and our buddy Ron had just gotten back from Alaska, I think it was, or his audio recorder had gotten messed up from this Alaska trip
Oh,
that he did with Small Town Monsters. And it's funny, they were just playing that today. They did a director's cut that they played today, and they showed the scene where Ron had actually fell into the water, and it was a weird situation. And so his audio recorder had gotten messed up from that time, and he didn't know, and had it out in the field with us thinking it was still working. And so his audio recorder didn't capture anything, but my phone did. And so Jonathan, I shared the audio with Jonathan, and he sent it up to Dave. I believe it's David Ellis from Olympia Project, and his results were that it was like it was just something strange. I forget the term
right.
that he has a particular term that he uses, and it's like I forget something about like the target, something about the target that we're kind of like looking for, but he doesn't say Bigfoot. It just says something else that is not your local or normal vocalizations from wildlife and stuff like that. So we thought that was pretty interesting. So that was coming from that same area where we had this stuff happening this time. And so we drive up to Onion Mountain. It's called this area where we thought the vocals were coming from, Onion Mountain.
Onion?
And on our way there, it's just like 3 a.m, and we're bumping around the hills there, and I'm just sitting in the back of the car, and I'm like, you know what, let me just start recording, and just in case anything runs across the road or anything weird happens. And because I had this feeling, something inside me was telling me record. And so I did, and we didn't notice anything. We found an area where we wanted to kind of base ourselves and maybe do some more vocals, hang out in the dark there, see if we heard anything else. And nothing much really happened after that night. And the rest of the trip was great. Did some more investigations, more recording, documenting, and the guys actually did a lot of interviews with each other. There's a bunch of interviews going on for the different documentaries that should be coming out or possibly coming out. And so there was a whole lot of that, a lot of different information being shared, which was great. And yeah, so there's I get back, I'm going through the video of that particular night that we're driving up to Onion Mountain and stuff, and I'm always keeping an eye out for anything strange in the video and stuff like that. And I thought I noticed what looked like this weird shadow anomaly, like come across the road and then go on the driver's side of the vehicle. And I was just like, hold on, let me go back, and I start scrubbing through the video. And I'm like, this looks like something, and I know there's other shadows going on because it's night, and there's shadows and whatever. I'm scrubbing back and forth, and I'm just like, man, this really looks like something here, because it was almost like a darker shadow than the rest of the shadows I was seeing. And it had almost like to me, a humanoid figure. And I was like, you know what? Let me call Gerald. It's pretty late night, yeah. And I'm like, hey Gerald, man, hey, look, I'm going through this footage, and I did this and that. I scrubbed it, I clipped it here. Can you take a look at it and see if I'm tripping, or is it just a shadow? What's going on here? And he took a look at it, and from what I heard, I mean, I don't know. What'd you think, Gerald?
I saw the shadow too.
Yeah, I showed it to Jane. Once I cropped it and got it to that particular clip of that going across, I mean, you can tell it had like an intent. Like there was something that left that side of the road, went in front of the car, and then went up into the rocks.
It was a
And
different
it
shade
looked like
too.
it to me like it was intelligent.
It didn't
Right.
look like a normal shadow. I mean, it was
Ye-
definitely something different.
Yeah, and I'm glad I got your opinions on it. Because I sent it to some of the guys, and like I said, these guys are they got their ways of thinking, and they're not really into the weirder stuff. And the guys, Jonathan, he felt like there was something there. Alex thought maybe it was more possibly of a shadow, wasn't sure, and I was just like, yeah, in case you guys need it, share on your documentary or anything, the videos there, the footage is there. So who knows? But I went ahead and shared it on my channel and did a couple runs, like a couple. I think I did a short clip and then a longer version of it. But and there's a lot of stuff like that I've captured throughout the years. These weird anomalies like this that eventually I want to be able to bring back and examine and break down and have other people look at and see what it is, because once again, going back to our intention of what are we looking for here, and so there's a target for me, and I'm having these anomalies happen. So
Right.
I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, could it be what we're looking for here? And it's appearing in these different ways. And so yeah, that for me, that was a highlight there, getting that little bit of footage. And I did
Yeah.
run it by a few other people that thought that it was a shadow, and that possibly nothing there. So it's just you
Yeah,
know
it's whatever you perceive. I mean, some people are open and say, okay, I see that. It looks like it has a purpose or it's doing something
Mhm.
intelligent. Then other people say, nah, it looks natural to me. I don't, it's just
yeah.
wherever you're at in
Mhm.
life. And I don't know. I mean, I think it was something. I watched it. I don't know how many times going
Many
back and
times.
forth. I had Jane watch it and I kept cropping it to try to get the best view of it. And
Yeah.
it's
Slowing
like,
it down.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's a little tough to work on, and yeah, we need to get some credit sometimes too for the little bit of work that we do on these things, man. I do the best I can with what I got. I'm not like skilled, and I'm learning as I go how to edit videos, or how to use things to try and help articulate what we're seeing or what we're feeling or whatever. But I think, yeah, that's an art in itself, and we're learning. But yeah, and I wanted to go ahead and I could repost that video on my community page, and I could send it over to you, Gerald, if people
Mm.
want to check that out. I know usually I'm the type of guy who likes to show the receipts. So like when I would do shows like this, I'd get invited to show. I would like to show some of the videos and pictures, and so I would bombard you guys with like videos. And I know I was like, man, now that I think of it, it's like making it harder, more work for them. They're
ah,
already running the show, but you guys
well,
have done good jobs of doing that. And like I said, it's because I like to show what we're finding, and I think more people should be showing what they're finding. And I get some people don't want to
Mhm.
for whatever reasons, and I'm sure there's some really good stuff out there that people are holding out on. But I like to share and get people's
yeah.
opinions and stuff like that. And
Yeah, repost that video, then we'll add it to our playlist section so people can go to it. So if you want to see the shadow going across the yard that we're talking about, make sure you go to Brown Dwarf's YouTube, or eventually it'll be on our playlist.
yeah, yeah, right on. Yeah, because another thing is like people have talked about there's been a lot of people that have squatched Bluff Creek and everything, and there's a lot of people that feel that it's been what they call squatched out, like they're not even there anymore just because so many people have gone there throughout the years. And and I say that, but it's still a spot where not many people go, although many people have been there. It's out there. Um, Yeah, no, I feel like there's definitely still stuff going on there, and this last trip just yeah showed me that there's still things there, and we talked about these fires. There was actually some fires in the area that happened, and actually the site where Bluff Creek Project has you know confirmed, I'll say, that where the PG situation happened. That site was preserved from one of the fires. One of the fires got really close. There's some burned areas there, and I guess they had made it a thing to save that spot. So I think that says something. If forestry and then Cal Fire and all them saved the site that we believe is the Patterson site, I think
Right.
that to me it says something, because there's the whole thing with and I fully respect MK Davis and his work, and he's done fabulous work on the Patterson footage and everything. But he has a different site than where the Bluff Creek Project has their site. So I guess MK site, they say, is further downriver.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was a trip, because this is last time before I went up, I had, because I subscribed to MK. I get a notification for a video, and it's of the map to his site. And it was like the day before I'm leaving up there, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, oh, like what? We're not going to the right place and all this stuff. So I had a talk with ex Humboldt County Park Ranger Robert Leiterman, who's also part of the Bluff Creek Project. And this dude's all about like maps and stuff, and he knows a lot of the spots that I would go, that were I call my spots down in the Redwoods. Those were the areas where he would patrol. So he actually helped me confirm a lot of things that I was hearing, and just a lot of things that I was running into out there. And it was good to hear that from an actual ranger who, who's worked the area, So Robert Leiterman actually did a raw interview with me. We're at the campground. This is actually the first night I got there this last time up, and we're all hanging out, bonfire and campfire and chatting. The guys are doing the thing, but I was able to get Robert on and to talk about the location site and how I just seen the MK's post and everything. And he had nice things to say about MK. He was like, he would wish he would come have a dinner or something to sit down with us, and that we could all check everything out. Um, and that would be cool. Yeah, so got an interview with Robert. So, and he talks about what they've been doing and why he feels like that's the spot, and yeah, no, I can't wait for some of the like I said, the docs that are going to be coming out. And that's going to be through Jonathan and Alex, I believe, because they usually do put up documentaries. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to put together. I haven't been rushing them or anything. I'm sure they have a lot to work with,
Right.
and have their busy lives and stuff. But yeah, no. As soon as I got back, I started sharing a lot of the clips that I took, and I was kind of doing I was doing my thing, but kind of doing like a behind the scenes of their stuff too. So I was getting footage of them doing their thing as well, which is pretty cool. So.
Now, while you were out camping and you said a tree limb fell down and you heard wood knocks and stuff through your camping trips and stuff, did you ever have any rocks or anything thrown, like a warning or?
Yeah, no, there's one time actually at the house. This was in Southern Humboldt, where we're having the orbs and everything. And this I got on video. Um, the house started getting pelted with what sounded like rocks all around, just started bing, bing, bing. And I'm on video, and we did have a bunch of, like, there was oak trees around the house too, so they weren't egg. I know the acorns, once they start falling, they start, some of
Right.
them could hit pretty loud too.
Hmm.
No, this sounded like it wasn't acorns, and it was something else, and I couldn't see, there was nothing visible. And I'm panning the camera around, and you're hearing all these things like hitting the house, and it's just like, whoa. And these are some of the older videos, and this is what I want to do also, because there was a lot of stuff that I feel like I was able to document, and the stuff that I'm talking about. Want to eventually like be able to get some of these videos and put together something where I show a lot of the stuff, like maybe the stuff that was happening on the land there, and so it's just all kind of chopped up and in this weird almost like this linear way that I laid out the videos, because it's as I go. It's almost like this daily whatever. Like I just post as I go. Some of the stuff may be from days or weeks before, but most of my videos is like boom, as it happens. I try to get it up as quick as possible, as fresh as possible, and it's like, so I could backtrack on my videos and find certain stuff if I needed certain information, like oh, how are the berries up at Bluff Creek this year, or weather and stuff like that. I know I'll be able to go back to stuff like that. So data, and I think that's another reason why documenting is important. Whether you have it on note and paper, pen and paper, or
Right.
video and stuff like that, or some sort of audio. And yeah, and I'm totally into that as well. Is the food sources, the terrain. It's
Did
not
you
just
notice?
yeah, yeah. It's not just
Did you
Bigfoot. I'm
notice while
totally.
you were out there, like when you were hearing the whoops and the sounds and stuff? Did you hear the rest of the forest get quiet? Whether the bird
Yeah, no, there
sounds or
was.
the animal sounds, and all of a sudden
Yep,
they get
there
quiet
was.
when that happens.
Yeah, this time around there was several times where even the guys, were like, "Dude, it's like quiet as," and for
Mhm.
some reason I didn't. I should have made a video on that, but there was, yeah, several moments throughout those days where it was just like super quiet. And then there was also days where it was, you got your normal wildlife sounds going on, but yeah, there was some points where we did have
Got
that
kind of
happen.
eerie.
Yep. Yeah, and there was this other point. So going back to when we did that overnight hike on this particular road that I was talking about earlier, that overnight, nothing big happened. We didn't run into Bigfoot or anything like that, but saw a lot of signs of bear and stuff. And actually, this particular area, because there's certain native tribes that are around there, they go up into this. It's like there's a particular rock there, and there might be a few, but there's one that I was told of, that they go do ceremonies and stuff like that, and so it's a sacred area as well. Um, Not much happened there, but so we ended up hiking. We found our camp spot that we're gonna set up our overnight. And the older guys, they were beaten up because it was hell of a hike. They were beaten up, and but Alex wanted to find the end of the road, and so Alex, Jonathan, and one other person, Rowdy Kelly. Shout out to Rowdy. And Rowdy, it's cool. We had Rowdy. Rowdy's a local, part of Bluff Creek Project as well. Super informative on the Bluff Creek area. He's like your tour guide up there. He'll give you the whole breakdown on where Patty was and where this was and that. And he also works on. He's worked on several commercials and movies. And his latest movie that he worked on was out of Humboldt, and it's called Sasquatch Sunset. I don't know if you guys
Mm.
heard about that one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I
It's a
think so. I
recent.
think I've heard of the name anyway.
Yeah, I heard it. It's a recent Bigfoot movie. It's kind of silly, I heard, but it's another Bigfoot movie out of Humboldt County. And there's several, because you have Willow Creek, there's Primal Rage, there's Lost Coast Tapes, and these are all up in Humboldt. So this is the area that I'm talking about. And so several movies, and there's been some other stuff that's been on film related, and Bigfoot Humboldt related. But like I said, Robert Leiterman, we busted out the maps because there's always talk about where the site is. Is it in Humboldt? Is it in Del Norte County? Because it's right at the border of the next county above Humboldt is Del Norte. So is it Del Norte? And then to the side, you have Siskiyou and Trinity County. And those counties all meet in that area.
Hmm.
So I guess technically Robert busted out the maps, and we're figuring all that out. And in that particular area where the site is, I believe it's Del Norte County. But Humboldt always takes the cake for all
Uh,
that,
right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you have Siskiyou County as well, and and Trinity County, which all have your things. Siskiyou County is where Shasta is, and Trinity, you have the
Hmm.
Trinity Alps, and just rich Bigfoot history up there, and just a lot of other weird stuff that come out from those areas. Shasta has a lot of the weirder, type
Mhm.
stuff going on there,
Right.
and so yeah, so it's interesting that you have the mesh of all these counties right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where are we at, Gerald?
How
I'm
about
like, woo, all over the
yeah?
place.
No, you're doing good. I think we're covering a lot of ground and staying on
Yeah.
track of your camping trip and what you experienced. How about infrasound? Did anybody experience any kind of stomach illness or any kind of weird body stuff from like when the whoops or the woods went silent?
You know what? I didn't. I don't think I paid attention to that, and but I felt good the whole time. There wasn't any fear, like major fear or discomfort or anything.
Okay.
And yeah, I fully feel comfortable there at night and during the day, and even during the day, man, it's just got this weird squatchy vibe. Like you just feel like a Bigfoot's gonna jump out of somewhere.
Yeah.
um yeah, nothing like that I took note of, or any of the guys that I remember. Um, there was
Yeah.
so there was a lady there with us, that she's part of the group, Terry, who shared some game cam pictures, but it was from a different area, and it was this weird, like it looked like a white furry thing, like it looked like hair, but it was completely white, and it looked like almost like if the top of a Bigfoot's head like
A
walked
tribble?
across the
Really?
camera. And so she shared those pictures, and I posted it,
Wow.
and it was outside of her trailer, and this thing, yeah, whatever it was, triggered their game cam. And there's also these other anomalies, like smoky light anomalies, that happened, I think, right leading up to those
Hmm.
pictures that I'm talking about. And she talked about the previous time that we were there. She claims she's had activity there. So even this time around, I think she mentioned with Damon, because they were there a night or two before us, um, that they were having activity those nights. So she was having, whatever, your typical big, like, sounds of knocks and clacks, possibly. Damon did some rock clacks one night, and we heard some sort of possible response. I was recording, and you hear us saying like, "Oh, did you hear like we heard a response?" But it's very hard to listen to on the recording of my phone. But yeah, man, it just seemed really active this time around. And I mentioned the fires again. Um, so with the fires, you would think that a lot of the wildlife or anything up there would have just took off, right?
Right.
This time around, I always notice signs of bear up in that area. There's always, bear scat, or you have a bear sighting. Always see a bear or two. And deer, I normally don't see in that area, which is, I think, is a weird thing, but I know they're around. Um, I noticed a whole lot of deer this time, and they were in the burnt areas. I seen little fawns and all types of wildlife we're seeing in these areas where I would have thought that it looked dead, it looked burnt and just done. But no, there's plenty of teeming wildlife, where there's a lot of berries coming out, the different types of berries that we get in the area. And of course, we went through some of the game cam pics that they have of the game cams that they have up there. We went through some of the pics, and your typical, mountain lions and your bears, and there's also the humboldt martin that is a rare thing, and yeah, they've
Right.
been getting those. So those guys are around too, and yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
a lot
cool. It's
going
cool
on
to
all in those
Yeah, it's
9
cool to
days,
hear.
huh?
And even while we were there was actually a fire south of us, called the Hill Fire, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was burning, and there was a few
Hmm.
smoky days, smoky nights, and that always brings this weird vibe and element too. You see the sun super fiery red, and it's not we have that fire season, and there's been several years up there where there was one time I was up, and this was when I was staying very near the closest I've been to Bluff Creek. Actually, is up in the hills of Willow Creek on Waterman Ridge. And actually, Waterman Ridge, while we were staying and working up there, I had gotten some reports of vocals in that area and stuff too.
Hmm.
And on this particular night that we were staying up that way, there was a big group of people working there. People were camping and staying on the land, and some weird vocals woke up a bunch of people. And the next day, unfortunately I didn't hear it, but everyone came to me and was like, "Hey, did you hear that? Like, dude, it sounded like this." And because you knew I was a Bigfoot guy, you know, and so that was a little weird thing that happened there. But Waterman Ridge, I forget where we were going here, but yeah, closest spot to Bluff Creek, and I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. Yeah, we were just kind of wandered around, and I think I asked you about weird stuff that was happening. You started talking about the other counties that it was possibly in another county besides the one that you're saying.
Oh yeah, well, what do you mean, like Yeah, Shasta, of course, Mount Shasta. You get all those strange reports there. You know, little people, the tall whites. You know, you get these ETs,
Right.
Bigfoot, robot granny.
Have you gone to Mount Shasta?
Yeah, up in
Yeah.
Mount Shasta, and not to mention the weird people that are up that way too. But yeah, no, there's so much stuff that happens out that way, and that's not too far. You know, not
Hmm.
too far from Willow Creek and all that. You know, you just head on down 299, Highway 299, and 299. You know, that I've heard some weird.
Hmm.
If you want to talk about strange stuff that I've heard of like Flannel Man on Highway
Oh
299.
wow, I haven't heard that.
Flannel man? Always wearing a flannel?
Yeah, some sort of entity of some sort that wears flannel, carries an axe or something like that.
Oh my
Who knows?
gosh, like a
But
Oh my
lumberjack.
gosh.
yeah, walking in the snow.
Flannel man.
Yeah, that's some of the
Wow.
weird stuff I've heard there. But no, there's been of course, road cross sightings on. There's been Bigfoot reports on 299, and
Hmm.
yeah, that connects you to from Willow Creek to Mount Shasta area.
Huh.
And I've heard of reports of underground tunnels that supposedly connect from Shasta to the Humboldt coast. So that would go all under through that area I'm talking about there, 299. I would imagine it goes all under there, if that is true. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good spot. And there's other spots besides Bluff Creek. You know, our focus has been there because of the history and stuff like that. But there's other areas that I did stop along the way, which those areas I call my spots, and yeah, it's still stuff happening there. There was a massive, like, it was like a perfect X that I found in one of these areas, and I'm like, all right, well, if someone did it, then maybe someone trying to make a connection with Bigfoot, so maybe they decided to leave a perfect X on the side of the road there. But it's pretty big, and in this area where I find a lot of this stuff, and an area of history once again, so
Huh. Now Polly wants to know if you know anything about Bigfoot in South or Central America.
yeah. That's another thing I want to get into is all this stuff, because I am bilingual, even trilingual. I could speak a little Portuguese, enough to get me by. I've been to Brazil a couple times and I survived. So uh, yeah, so I've heard of stuff that is described as Bigfoot, so which leads me to believe that these things are there. And once again, I talk about that Southern California having reports, and then stuff happening at the border. And some of the stuff I had mentioned the other day too was Dogman related towards the border, but there is some reports near the border, Bigfoot related. So, and I talk about these borders and these things not having borders. So I don't think these things have a problem getting on to the other side over to Mexico. And I do have family, and actually my dad's from a mountain town near the border of Mexico, and that particular mountain town is known as a big UFO ET hotspot.
Oh
And
wow.
that place is called La Rumorosa. La Rumorosa actually has been holding these UFO like conference type things where they're experiencing like CE5 and stuff like that, and it really blew me away, because I remember it just being this small mountain town, not much being up there. I've spent time there as a kid, and now it's known as this UFO hotspot.
Hmm.
So, and my dad and we actually have a cabin up there. So I've
Oh,
been
Oh,
meaning to
wow.
make it a thing to get out there and do some sky watching and stuff like that. And a friend of mine, Alejandro, who's a sky watcher out of Southern California here, he actually has been going up to La Rumorosa to those gatherings and conferences. And on one of their investigations, he recorded some sort of ET being. Yeah,
Oh,
that's posted on
wow.
his channel. Yeah, his channel on YouTube is Luces en el Cielo Anaheim. And maybe that'll be if I could pull up that video. Maybe it's something I could share over on my community page too. But it's some sort of energy being that they encountered and they were able to record.
wow.
Cool.
Yeah,
Now
and so I'm
T-Bone is
thinking these Sasquatches, when I think of La Rumorosa, I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally imagine and see them up there. And so I
cool.
have a feeling they might be in that area. So hopefully soon here we'll be going out that way to visit some family and do some investigations. But as far as South America, I could only imagine what's in the Amazon. I think the Amazon is probably a good place to look for these creatures.
Right.
And in Florida, you got the skunk ape. So I could see something like that being in the Amazon. But in
Mhm.
Argentina, out in the Patagonias, you got the Los Patagones, which is a native tribe. But I've heard also that the Patagones were also possibly giants, a tribe of giants. And the pata means your foot in Spanish. So Patagonia, I think there's something there with feet and these ranges of mountains and
Right.
giants and
Hmm.
possibly these Bigfoot Sasquatch type beings.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So as
Now,
far as South America, but yeah, definitely, I think there's something there in Latin America for sure. South America, Central America, that stuff we haven't tapped into that we're getting into up here. And I know Latin America is very big on the dog man thing, on werewolves.
Hmm.
It's a thing, and it's something I've heard about a lot. And a lot of the other paranormal stuff that goes on that we're experiencing and that we talk about is happening out that way too. And they have gnarlier stuff too. I've seen a lot of weird, strange videos out of South America, and when I say South America, Central included. Um, that's very fascinating. So yeah, I can't wait to get back out there. I've been to a few spots in the Caribbean and in South America, like I said, Brazil, Venezuela, but I didn't do much recording. Even in Hawaii, for some reason, I don't know why. I'm like, dude, where are my videos from the Caribbean islands and Hawaii? Because I've been several times, but maybe I just didn't do that much recording while I was out there.
well, before we wind this down, we have another question about have you collected any hair samples or anything
Yeah.
like that? Because you said you're always looking for evidence, and especially this 9-day camping trip, you were looking for footprints and stuff. So, was there any
Yep.
examples that came up?
Yeah. We did find some hairs out this last time up in the Bluff Creek area. Alex Petikoff actually started all that. We were looking over at this meadow area that we're investigating at night. We also went during the day to investigate, and Alex started finding some hairs. We ran into, what do you call it, the old man's beard? Some of that old man's, right? Old
Right.
man's beard. But then we started finding hairs, and once he started finding hairs, it's like my eyes. It took me a second to zero in on the hairs, and once I was able to see it, I started finding stuff, and so
Wow.
yeah, it's like it
That's cool.
activated me, and we found several hairs, which very much could be a bear, most likely bear. But like I said, Damon, the gadget guy, these previous Bluff Creek trips, he's been finding hairs that he's been analyzing and getting analyzed, and it's the typical hair that's not bear and is this target that we're looking
Oh,
for.
right.
It has all the little things, and has and is missing the things that are may make it a bear or some sort of normal wildlife. So it's pretty cool that he's finding that. And yeah, we found some more hairs this time. Alex did collect it. When we collected it, we didn't have our little tweezers and kits. All that got left back at
Right.
camp for some reason. And so Alex just grabbed it with his hands because we're not gonna, we're not doing DNA or anything. It's just to look and see if it's a
Examine it
bear or
and
not. Yeah,
Right.
compare it
yeah.
to other
So that
samples.
and that's always exciting, like I'm telling you, doing that type of stuff, looking for tracks and impressions. There's a few impressions in that area that I didn't point out that I thought were interesting, because I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that it doesn't all happen. This all sounds like all action packed and everything, but a lot of times things don't happen.
Right.
Most of the times things don't happen. You don't always find stuff, and it's kind of weird when some people do. There's some people out there, every time they go out they find stuff, and I feel like, yeah, you could be on that level as well. So, and I like to follow those types of people. But there's just some people that I don't know. I question their stuff that they're showing, and their pictures and timestamps. And
Right.
some of these people are I'm cool with, I'm friends with, and but like I said, it's just like some of, and it's all questionable. Even my, of course, my stuff, and we're all questioning it. But some of it's really good, and then some of it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not
Right.
feeling it at the moment,
Right.
and I just don't like dealing with that. But there's a lot of good, weird, anomalous stuff that a lot of guys are capturing that are along these topics, and a lot of it gets kind of just pushed to the side. But I do believe there's something there, and I believe, yeah, just being connected, like we are talking in the beginning of this, with your inner self, your intuition, your guidance system,
Mhm.
and your perspective. I'm always trying to look at this as a positive thing, and I'm not chasing any negative spirits or negative entities. Is not what I want to do. But hey, if they make an appearance and happen to show up on camera or whatever, we'll take that and put it into our files here.
Well, my latest rabbit hole, and it deals with hair, that I'm wondering, because some people, or at least one other person I've heard, said that they think Bigfoot hair is actually kind of
Clear.
clear or
Mhm.
opaque.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
I'm
there's
wondering if it can put out infrasound that people talk about. Maybe the hair is their antenna or their way of
Mm.
producing frequencies going out. So maybe that's why we get blurry pictures all the time, because it's generating a frequency out from it.
Wow.
Yeah, I told you, Bigfoots are born blurry.
Mhm.
No, Gerald, I always love to hear what you got to, yeah, because Gerald, I feel like, yeah, you're outside the box, and you always have some great ideas, and I'm sure it's influenced by Jane as well. But yeah, no, I really like that. That's very possible. And another thing is, there's actually an investigator that I'm not fond of, but who pitches that idea of the clear hairs. I think it's very possible. It makes some sort of sense, and yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I just heard that, and then I'm starting to think about, okay, frequencies and sounds, and maybe the light reflects off of that hair so you can't see it very clearly, or it blends in, or
Hmm.
or
Yep.
it changes somehow, like a chameleon, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
I just keep these thoughts just keep going through my head. And then
Oh
the
yeah.
frequency thing came up, like, well, maybe it's generating a frequency and it
Wow.
messes up the atmosphere around it. So that's why his pictures are always
Very,
blurry.
very possible, man.
Mhm.
And believe me, all day I kick this stuff around. I talked about the couple sightings I've had, and so I do believe I have seen these things, and yeah, I'm always thinking about it, and it keeps me going. I love it. Um, and it's just like, yeah, a lot of us are in a rush to solve the mystery, and we need this and that, and I don't know. I've just learned to take it as it comes, and whatever it comes little by little, it's all good. And I'm not here to prove anything to science or to the world or anything, but if there's
Right.
anything that we do have that could help in that, hey, I'm all in too.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're all here for, is that to ask questions and try to figure things out. And how do we add these little pieces of information that we get from you or another person like Jessica, the cryptid huntress, or LIB, you know, we take these little pieces and try to put it in to make sense for our picture, you know, how we perceive things. It doesn't fit everybody's box. It doesn't make sense to everybody, but once in a while, somebody will say something like, oh man, I like that. I want to have to look into that.
Yep. And also sometimes, like you're saying, certain things don't fit at the moment, but later it does.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, I go through these cycles of like, all right, well, it's like this for me right now. And then eventually it's like, no, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
every once in a while, even me and Jane will be talking, and it's like we'll circle back to like, well, no, I think this makes more sense now, or you know, maybe it's a changing environment, maybe they're changing all the time, because everybody's experiences, whether it's paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot, Dogman, they're never the same. They might have a little similarity here and there, but
there you go. Bigfoot is just a gray in a ghillie suit.
well, I'm glad Blazer's in here. Blazer, thank you for the t-shirt.
Yes, thank you for the shirt, Blazer.
Did Blazer make this one?
There you go. Midwest Night Watchers.
Can you see it?
Nice.
There you go. Yep.
Right on.
I love
yes,
that.
Thank you, Blazer. It's nice getting gifts in the mail.
Yeah. And so
Yep.
So it looks like we're going to be doing another trip back up to Bluff Creek coming up this week here.
Awesome.
Don't tell anyone.
Okay, don't tell anyone. No one heard that. No one heard that.
Yeah, and and it's really difficult for me right now. Like I said, I haven't been able to go, back home. There's a lot of things that I don't know are on my plate. And so it hasn't been really easy for me to this trip. It's just like, oh man, I just got back last month and I spent my money and resources and stuff and here we go again. And it's like, oh man, I don't want to miss it though, because any opportunity to go up there, I'm all in. And so right now I'm just, scraping my pennies, crossing my fingers for payday, doing what I can and being resourceful with what I got to make it up there, and so it's not easy all the time. And it may seem like, oh, here we go on vacation all the time, and no, it's not like that. And it's something I want to be able to do all the time. I mean, who doesn't want to be able to go around and visit places and document and we're working towards that. It's something we do anyway, no matter what. We're still keeping the 9-to-5 grind, but make space and time for what we really love too. And then being at the shop is not that bad here either. It's we're doing what we love here, and so we're doing it. It's not easy though. So any support that we can get, is much appreciated, whether you're watching videos, hitting that thumbs up, subscribing, sharing them. It really helps. It helps keeps us going and keeps me going. And so even little things like that you can do to help out. And thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anybody that's out there that's going to watch this later or watching it now, please go over to Brown Dwarf's site on YouTube. And you still do TikTok?
Yeah, I haven't been too active on there. I just kind of jump on there to do my little thumbnails for YouTube and stuff. And then, people, my mom and, family and friends will send some funny videos, some interesting videos. So I'll tap in like that. But I haven't been on TikTok, like scrolling or even really posting much. I think I posted something recently, but there's a whole lot of stuff that I could be sharing on there. But I've been focused more on YouTube. And even though on YouTube, I'm not, my views are not that many, but I just been focusing here. I really like using the platform, but like I said, I gotta really focus on my formula, and then we're gonna keep stuff coming for you guys. So stay tuned.
All right.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, I think this is a good spot to end on, Brown Dwarf. And
right on.
So we had a great conversation. Loved having you on. It's always fun having you. And I mean, I've never been out to the Redwoods, but I've seen lots of videos and movies and stuff of the Redwoods. It's just fantastic out there. So I without even being there, I can no doubt imagine that would be a perfect place for Bigfoot and paranormal and woo stuff to happen. I mean, it's just a majestic old forest.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be
And
there?
you know, Jane and Gerald, you know, I actually invited you to this next Bluff Creek trip. You know, so
Right?
you know, you guys got the invite, and then no short notice, but even for next year or whenever, you know, we could always plan on something. You guys want to get out, and if you guys want to come check out the Redwoods too, you know, we could all do that at once too. Let me know, and we could talk about that and make that happen. And I would love to check out, go hang out at your farm or something, man. I'll go feed the goats and. Yeah, I do farm work.
We don't really have a farm per se. We do have animals because we bought the property that went with the farm behind us, but we didn't actually get to buy any of the farm field, but it's just still right there behind us.
But we still got
the farm around us, but none of it happens to be ours. So we don't have the work, just the animals.
All right. Well, and I was going to say, I can caretake and then you guys can hit the road.
Yeah, we're actually looking at 2025 to maybe me and Jane going out and visiting some places, you know, whether it's Cahokia, Illinois, or going down to Grafton, Illinois for that conference, and maybe we can make it out to the West Coast next year because we're
gonna you know, and like I said, no pressure. It's just like I could totally see you guys out here, and I mentioned before, you guys you guys are total Humboldt County. NorCal,
get right in, huh? Nobody will notice us.
Locals. And Gerald, I want to say thank you again, man, for fixing the flare. It's super
You're
sweet
welcome.
of you, and then the shirt gift, man. You guys have been great, and just, you know, being able to share videos with you guys, conversation that we do off of there, and I appreciate your guys' friendship. You guys have been awesome. Love you guys.
Oh, we love you. And we're glad to help out any way we can. You know, it just happens that I love electronics and always experimenting, messing around with them. So I've had my experience of fixing and tearing apart electronics and putting them all back together. So that was right up my alley. And I'm glad it worked out.
And your friendship means a lot to us also. Thank you.
Thank you.
And those in chat also. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah, much love,
stuck
chat.
with us. You know, they're still watching and stuck with us. I appreciate your friendships.
Right on.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and say goodbye to everybody in chat. So don't go away, Brown Dwarf. Just hang out right there and say hi to everybody like we have. And thank you all for coming. We appreciate y'all. And we're starting to have some good numbers show back up in our chat. For a while, it kind of got a little slim. I don't know what happened, but we're glad you all made it. Whoever's in here, and usually it's our faithfuls that show up. So thank you very much. And please go over to Brown Dwarf's YouTube and like and share and check out that shadow video that I helped him work on. I mean, it was all his work. I just kind of cropped it a little bit and slowed it down. And so guys, make sure you go out and check that out. And I'll try to post it in our playlist once he gets that back up. And we'll see you guys all next time. So we love you all. Thanks for coming. Keep looking up. Like Brown Dwarf said, keep looking up.
And keep your vibrations high.
That's right. Stay positive and we'll all get through this.
Yes.
All right. Love and peace, everybody.